Hello everyone, this is Caleb Simpson, and welcome to my 100% walkthrough for The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword for Nintendo Wii. So whenever you come back to Link's room, you always want to open this cabinet off to the left, and it often has blue rupees in it, which is worth 5, which it's just the cabinet that keeps on giving, which is lovely. So every time you're here, just might as well open it. Go ahead and exit the room and look off to the right, and you'll see that mysterious character that was in our dreams is now here in reality. Bum bum bum. You want to go ahead and chase after her, and she will head up the stairs and lead us out the front doors. I always find this first part of the game kind of interesting because I always think of how when Nintendo was first announcing the game and they released some pieces of artwork for it and they showed a picture of this character. And there was a lot of people that, like in the Zelda community as a whole, who kind of pooled their resources and like had all these theories going on. And kind of everybody kind of came to this unanimous decision of who she was. And it turns out all of those theories were correct. So that's what I always think. When I was at this point in the game, I was all like, yeah, okay, I know it's coming. And then like it was revealed and it was really cool. So up ahead, you'll follow her outside, you'll see that these gates are closed leading to the statue of the goddess. We can't actually go there. Now, if you lose track of this character, you can actually see her on your map. So don't worry about it too much. If you get lost, you can figure it out through that. So just press plus on your controller, and you can find her that way. Now, if you fall down at any point, there is actually vines to get back up, so don't worry if you feel stuck or whatever. You can totally do that too. So hop down, and if you land in that little ravine, don't worry about it. You can just dash out of there with A. And up ahead, we have one of those cute remlet cats. Aww. Yeah, so remlets are evil at night, so you can defeat them by simply smacking them twice with your sword. You don't actually kill them, they just kind of like cower in fear, but that'll get them to leave you alone if they're struggling with them or whatever. Now, the only thing you can do with them is you can throw them, and this actually reinitializes their whole aggressive nature or whatever, so you have to smack them again to get them to leave you alone. And I know a lot of people are sad that I smacked the remlet, no, don't hit them, but, I'm just trying to do it to show. Anyways, you can continue on to this bottom area. I think this is actually an area in case you fall down or whatever, but it has a chest containing 20 rupees. Defeat the Choo-Choo if you want, and then work your way back up to the top, and now we can grab onto the ledge and use it to follow the mysterious figure. Now, you may or may not have skipped the little tutorial with Instructor Horwell to climb walls when you were saving Mia, so you didn't have to do that, it was optional, but how you do this is you dash at the wall with A, and this will allow you to grab onto the lip, and then from there you can move left and right. When you get to these flat portions that aren't at the little corners, you can swing the remote to make it jerk forward a little bit faster. That consumes a little bit more stamina, so it is a little bit wasteful, but if you have more than enough stamina, then it doesn't matter. But continue onwards, and there's the keys here. You can defeat it if you want to, but otherwise, once you have enough stamina, run up the next incline. There's some keys up ahead. I recommend you kill these ones because they can smack into you when you're jumping across these floating platforms. And we have some bigger Choo-Choos here. These medium-sized ones are actually two smaller ones that are merged together. And you can separate them by using vertical strikes to split them in half, and then you can kill each individual one. If you use a horizontal strike, it might just merge back together. But ironically enough, if you use horizontal strikes like really quickly in quick succession, so you're like whack, 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 then you can actually defeat them before the top one lands back down on it. So actually, even the really big variety of Choo-Choo that we see later, horizontal strikes, if you do it fast enough, is actually a far superior way to defeat them. Which is kind of weird, because you'd think that, hey, playing with skill is the way to go, but nope, just flailing like crazy and being a maniac is the way to win Skyward Sword. Not really, just this enemy, but I just think it's kind of ironic. They're like, hey, they make it seem like it takes a lot of skill. It doesn't. So jump to the vines, climb up, and once you reach the base of the statue of the goddess, then the mysterious figure will melt into the stone and it reveals a hidden entrance. So, ooh, I love this cutscene right here. It's just so beautiful. Anyways, enter, and then I'll meet up with you on the other side.
Skyward Sword.
At this point, you can actually walk forward and talk with Fi to get additional information, but what you need to do is walk forward, press A, then point the controller straight down, and then pull straight up. Just jerk it up while still holding A, then you can release A. This will pull the sword out of the pedestal. At this point, you need to perform a Skyward Strike, and how you do that is you hold the sword straight up above your head. Now, depending on how your Wiimote is calibrated, you might have to kind of wiggle it around until you find the sweet spot, but once it's kind of like pointing straight up-ish, then just stop moving, and it'll snap to the right location, and it'll just start charging. So that's how you do that. Hold it up, then stop moving. Alright, up ahead we have a Hylia Crest, and every time you see one of these you need to use a Skyward Strike. Charging them by holding your sword straight up, and then you can just slash your sword to shoot out a beanie whirly thing. Now this is called a beam blade, and it's been an attack that's in a lot of different Zelda games. Typically it's when you have full health in a lot of other games. Now in this game, you can use it whenever you want, you just have to charge it first, which is actually pretty cool. Typically, the Skyward Strike does half the damage of a regular sword attack. Something interesting to know is it is a slashing attack, so it can pierce and slice things, like ropes for example. And you can charge it up and you can slash in different directions, so horizontal or diagonal or even a stab. Or you can even charge it up and use it to empower your spin attacks. Falcon Spin! Now one thing I'm not sure about is spin attacks do more damage than your regular attacks anyway, so I'm not sure if like the edges of an empowered spin attack do as much damage as the spin attack regularly when they're close to you, because spin attacks do a lot more damage anyways. But yeah, just interesting to know. So Skyward attacks, very useful. Alright, so we got our new outfit. Now, this is called different things in different games, like guard uniform, hero's clothes, etc., but it's pretty much the same uniform for every Zelda game, and so this is actually, like, pretty, like, you know, once you get to this point, it's supposed to be this epic, like, yeah, we got the uniform at long last. But I think it's kind of interesting, like, the description of it, and I also think it's kind of cool how it almost looks like it's got chainmail underneath the tunic, and it just, like, looks like Link's actually ready for an adventure, and I think they did a really good job designing this thing. This is also kind of interesting because at this point, this was the first game in the timeline, like this was a prequel to all the other games at the time that Nintendo released this, so it's just kind of like an interesting thing of like, oh, okay, so this is where these clothes came from. They're actually like guard uniforms, so that makes sense. That's cool. Outside the room, Fledge meets up with us, and he has, meanwhile, sewn us an adventure pouch. Now, this allows us to carry various items, which you can pull up with the minus button on the left side of your controller. And this allows you to carry a whole bunch of different things, including bottles and a bunch of other items that we will get throughout our adventure. At first, this only starts out with 4 slots, but we will unlock more slots as we progress, and that'll allow us to carry even more items. He also mentions that we can put shields and potions in our pouch, and which is very important. We're going to need to do that here before we continue on to the next area. I also just sort of, as a side note, find it kind of interesting that, like, you know, that Fledge is like the weakling that Groose and his buddies kind of look down on and pick on or whatever, and yet Fledge is the one who makes us an item that is one of the most useful things that we will get throughout the entire game. Just, like, vindicating, you know. Now, before you leave, you can also swing into Groose's room real quick and talk with him, and there's sort of this interesting scene where he's just super depressed, but this is the only point in the game where you can see him doing this. I really like Groose's character progression throughout the game, and I actually think it's like a great example of just bullies in general, and like the reason behind what they do. And I actually have quite a bit to say about that, but I don't have time to talk about it right now. If you look off to the left too, he also has a punching bag, and it has a picture of Link drawn in crayon taped to it, and I think that's super hilarious. Outside the room, you can speak with Colin out in the hallway, and he's pretty much blaming you for Zelda going missing and the fact that Groose is upset now. So he's, like, lashing out at you even though he's not doing anything about it, but he's also upset that you got promoted to the senior class while all of his buddies did not. Now, Headmaster Gapora recommended that you go speak with Aegis over in the training hall before you left, and what Aegis wants to talk to you about is actually just how to use the shield. So you can do some shield training there, however, you're going to have to go purchase a shield first. Now, you can go purchase it in the bazaar from the Rupin, the item dude over there in the bazaar. However, if you speak with Alon over here, just outside the Knights Academy, he has a little chat bubble above his head, and after talking with him for a little bit, he'll actually give you a free wooden shield. So Alon tells you that wooden shields are light, they move around very quickly and stuff like that. They don't have a super lot of durability, but they can also burn in fire. So just remember that whenever you're fighting fire enemies, you want to be careful, and you can either unequip your wooden shield, so that way it doesn't take damage, or you can like switch out to a different shield that is resistant to fire. Just keep that in mind. To equip the shield, what you want to do is hold down the minus button and then point in a direction to equip it. So then you can do the same thing to unequip it as well later. So Alon also recommends that you go speak with Aegis in the training hall, so you can do so if you wish, and Aegis will teach you about how to perform shield bashes. And he actually talked about this earlier in the game. When we were here doing the sword training, he said, hey, by the way, once you have a shield, come back and talk with me again. And technically, like, when you got the practice sword, you could have actually gone to the bazaar, like, before you headed to the waterfall cave, and you could have purchased a shield at that point, and then actually used it against, I guess the keys would be the only thing. You couldn't use the shield against, like, choo-choos. I guess you could use it against remlets, though. So you could have had a shield when you were following Fi there at night. But anyways, so that's just a whole side note. But at this point, though, we finally have a shield, so you should learn how to use the shield bash. Now, this is all optional. You don't have to do this. You can just skip ahead to the rest of the adventure, but he just talks about how to do it. So you shake the nunchuck in your left hand, and this will cause Link to hold the shield in front of him. And while doing so, you're not actually, like, and then if you swing your sword, then your shield is not in the defensible position again, so you need to, like, swap back and forth between slashing your sword or using your shield. You have to decide what you want to do. Now, something to realize is when you use a shield bash, you, like, smack with it, then it defends you for, it has, like, a window of time where where it will block attacks and it doesn't take any damage. Otherwise, after that, it will hold the shield straight forward, and if it takes another hit, it will actually reduce durability instead, and it doesn't counterattack. If you can successfully time a shield bash, though, it does counterattack the enemy, it stuns them usually, and then it lowers their defenses. So shield bashes are ridiculously powerful in Skyward Sword. You can actually, like, when all else fails, if you're struggling with an enemy, and you're trying to get your hit in or whatever, and you don't know what to do, if all else fails, just use shield bashes. Shield bashes will work every time as long as you time it well. If you ever want to practice your timing, the best place to do that in the game is actually right here, which I think is great. This is actually, I think, the best use of the training hall is actually to practice your shield bashes. So you smack this log here, and then it'll swing back and forth, and you can practice punching it with your left hand to use the nunchuck to punch into the attack. So if you time it well, it'll reflect it back, otherwise it'll bonk into you like that. And a lot of projectile attacks can actually be reflected with your shield as well, and you can also technically reflect it with stabs. Now, if your controller is not calibrated well, like mine is right here, I keep trying to stab and then the log keeps hitting me instead. The one thing, though, that you don't want to do with the shield, ever, is never do this. Don't just keep mashing it over and over and over again. When people get into a pinch and then things are really scary, they tend to try and do that, but it's far more effective to time it well. If you do this instead, where you're carefully timing your punches, it is so much more effective. Like, I cannot express how big of a difference it makes. The deal is that if you, like, if you punch with the nunchuck, whatever, you have this great big window. In fact, if an attack hits you, and, like, you shield bash after the attack animation has already smacked Link, it will still work and you'll successfully shield bash. the window of opportunity is super, super large, but what happens is if you do consecutive shield bashes, the second one and onward, that window of opportunity is significantly reduced, so it's nowhere near as effective. In fact, I think it's actually, if you're mashing the shield bash over and over again, I think it's significantly harder to reflect an attack. You will eventually, just due to probability or whatever, they'll eventually happen to hit you at the right time, but basically what'll happen is you'll just take a lot of durability damage, which, I mean, if you can afford that and you want to spend the rupees to repair your shield and that's your best way to defeat enemies, like, I guess, but yeah, like I say, well-timed shield bash, a single well-timed shield bash is so much more effective and significantly easier. So, like, the biggest tip I can give you is don't panic, just time it well, and if you need to practice your timing, then do that here. So as you're heading back towards town, then Fi will actually stop you, and she says that you can also change your interface options under the 1 button. So you press that on your controller, you can pull this up. It actually like whines at you until you do it the first time just to get a look at it. I'm going to change everything to Pro. What this does is it gets rid of the like nasty overlays on the screen. I just think they're super ugly, but it shows the nunchuck on the left and the Wiimote on the right. So I'm actually going to hide those for the rest of the walkthrough just to make this a little bit cleaner. And all those basically showed was just like some of the basic controls that are the same throughout the entire game. And I'll talk about what I'm doing, so which buttons I'm pressing throughout the walkthrough. So don't worry about it too much, even if you don't see it on the screen. I'm just doing that to make everything a little bit cleaner. Whenever I'm running through Skyloft, if I'm near the Knights Academy, I do like to roll into the trees, more so in the early game, because those trees tend to get 5 rupees in them every time. So if you just do that every time you're walking by, then you will get quite a bit of rupees. Like, you do that 3 or 4 times and you've already made 60 rupees. Like, it just adds up really quick early game. Now, as you enter the bazaar, you'll also get called out to by Spirit, who is the fortune teller guy. If you get lost, you can always talk with him. I never really quite understood why they had both. You have Sheikah stones that you can talk to like find your way throughout the game if you get stuck, but they also have the fortune teller. The fortune teller, though, gives you different types of tips, and he also eventually gives you tips on treasure and stuff like that. So if you're needing like monster claws or something like that, then he'll tell you where to find them, or like goddess plumes or something like that. So it's more like the fortune teller almost can tell you like where optional stuff is, and that's actually pretty sweet. Next, though, you should speak with Love, who is the potion shop owner, and she will allow you to purchase Red Potion as well, or actually it's not called Red Potion in this game, it's called Heart Potion. But anyways, you can purchase that if you want to. However, she notices that you don't have an empty bottle to put stuff in, so she will give you your first empty bottle for free. Now, this is actually a super big thing. Empty bottles are extremely valuable in Zelda games. This will allow us to do all kinds of things. Now, you can buy a Heart Potion if you want. It only costs 20 rupees, which is actually pretty cheap. However, we do have access to fairies, and we will have those very soon. And fairies are actually superior at this point in the game, so I'm actually going to wait. I'm not going to purchase this right now. And it is worth noting that you can also upgrade your potions with Birdie, who is her husband over on the right, who is like spinning a little vat of potion with the baby on his back. And you can use Bugs to combine them with the potions that you've already purchased from Love, and he will upgrade your potions to Potion Plus. And those will make them a little bit stronger. I think they actually have 2 upgrades. They have Potion Plus and Potion Plus Plus. Or Double Plus, whatever you want to call it. So I am going to be collecting a lot of bugs throughout the walkthrough. I'm going to show you how to do that and how to do it effectively and the best places to farm for specific bugs. You want to run back and forth and get a whole bunch of them in case you need them for specific potions. And I'm also going to talk about like which potions are super effective in which areas and when they're available. However, I am personally not going to be using potions because the buffs they give are a little overpowered at different points in the game. And I want to show like the bare bones how to get through the game. I mean, this is a 100% walkthrough. I'm going to be getting everything, but I want to show like how to do it the harder way, I guess, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So like, if somebody doesn't have that option, I want to show how to do it. But with commentary, I will definitely be talking about the best places to use potions, which ones would be the most effective, all that kind of stuff, so I'll give advice on which potions to bring if you want to do so. So the next time you get close to any dock, then Fi will call out to you and explains that you should head towards the green light that is in the clouds now, which was released by the emerald tablet that she gave us in the statue of the goddess. So you want to head towards that green light, and how you do this is you run towards any of the docks, you just sprint towards it with A, and if you just run regularly and auto jump off of the dock without sprinting, then you'll just fall off, and then one of the guards will actually pick you up and plop you back on the land. But instead you want to sprint off the ledge, and that will cause Link to do his little squirrel dive thing. And then from there you can press down on the D-pad to summon your bird. Now again, if you ever get stopped like flailing around where you're not actually making progress and you're just like staying in place, what you need to do is flap your wings. And how you do that is you just swing the remote down, and that's how you flap your wings. So flap to gain altitude, and then like tilt down to pick up speed, and work your way towards the green light. As you get close to the light for the first time, Fi will also call out to you and say that you can also use your map, just a reminder, and you press plus on the controller to see that. But anyways, all you have to do is head towards the light and this hole in the clouds, and all you have to do is actually fly towards the base of the clouds, right there, that entrance, and then you'll just automatically hop off. But otherwise, you can fly high and then press down on the D-pad to start diving off your bird. So that's the end of this video, guys. Join me for the next one, and I will show you how to get through Faron Woods. I want to breathe again. Yeah, so I need to sing in the morning. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I can do that. I practiced on Thursday, and it was okay, but I'm struggling to find those harmonies because my vocal range is all screwed up right now. Yes, see, Corbin, you can do it! It worked! So I would do that for you. Yeah, there you go. Sweet.